Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really glad you're here with us today.
Yeah.
If you are listening to this, you are probably someone who suspects that reality is a little bit more porous than we've been led to believe.
Oh, definitely.
And today we are going to prove it.
Well, we're going to try. We are opening a door that most people don't even realize is there.
I like the
We're
door.
sort of stripping back the wallpaper, the physical world, to look at the structural beams underneath.
I love that image. And we are doing this by zooming in on a very specific moment in time.
A very specific moment.
We are going back to January 3rd, 1966. It's a Monday night. It's winter in Elmira, New York.
Yep.
And we are looking at session 219 of the early sessions, book 5 of the Seth Material.
This is such a standout session for me.
Yeah.
It really is. It's one of those rare moments in the material where the heavy, the abstract metaphysics just crashes headfirst into physical, tangible proof. We're going to be talking about the nature of time, the physics of the soul, and this is the strange part. A crumpled up piece of paper pulled out of a wastebasket.
It's like high-level quantum mechanics meets a noir detective story.
That's a great way to put it.
But before we get to the wastebasket and the hospital pass inside it, we need to set the scene. I mean, context is everything here.
It really is.
As I said, it's January 3rd. Jane Roberts, the medium, and her husband, Robert Butts, they've been on a holiday break. They haven't had a session since mid-December.
Right. And that's their longest break yet at this point.
Yeah.
And for anyone who has followed their story or read the earlier books, you know that breaks in the routine can be a little fraught.
A little tense.
Yeah, there's always this underlying tension. Jane was actually admitting to feeling nervous about starting back up. Like, exercising a muscle you haven't used in a few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
You wonder if the strength is still there or if the connection has, severed.
Exactly. So you'd expect, after a nice holiday break, that the entity coming through would be warm, right?
You'd think so.
Welcome back. Happy New Year. Hope you got some rest. But Seth comes through with this incredibly dry, almost prickly energy right off the bat.
It is classic Seth. He just does not do small talk. And he certainly doesn't do warm and fuzzy just for the sake of it.
No.
He opens with this line. I do not see any signs, however, of any great enthusiasm as we resume.
Ouch. I mean, what a way to start the new year. That sets a tone.
And then he twists the knife just a little bit with this great zinger. He says, perhaps your holidays take more out of you than I do.
I actually laughed out loud when I read that in the source material. It's such a human moment, from a non-human entity.
Oh, really?
He's basically saying, you guys look absolutely exhausted, and I haven't even started lecturing yet. It really highlights that Seth isn't just some robotic information dump.
No. There is a distinct, sometimes sassy personality there.
He definitely has a personality.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stop with the general snark. He immediately pivots to call out Robert specifically.
Robert Butts, the husband, right? Robert has been spending his holiday reading a very dense, very complex book by J.W. Dunne.
Oh, that's a fun holiday read.
Right. He's a British philosopher and, funnily enough, an aeronautical engineer who wrote about the nature of time.
And Seth notices this immediately.
Immediately, he says, my sympathy to Ruburt, that's his name for Jane, as he struggles to plow through his Dunne.
Plow through is the perfect way to describe reading dense philosophy on a holiday break. I've been there.
Me too.
But this isn't just a throwaway jab, is it? This actually frames the entire architectural argument of our deep dive today.
It really does.
Because Dunne had these very specific theories about serial time, and Seth says, well, he's about to just dismantle them.
Completely. And that's really our primary mission today.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack Seth's radical redefinition of what he calls the moment point.
The moment point.
We need to understand why our view of now, the present moment, is just fundamentally wrong, according to him. And then we're going to look at the chilling evidence, this envelope test that happens later in the session, which proves that this theory isn't just talk.
Okay, so before we jump completely down the rabbit hole, we should do our due diligence.
Of course.
This deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms, and it's for educational purposes. We're drawing strictly from the early sessions, book 5.
Right.
And if you want to get the full experience and really grasp the nuance we can't fully cover here, you have to go to the source.
Absolutely. We are giving you the map, but the book is the territory. We encourage all of you to study the Seth Material books directly.
Where can people find them?
You can find them at the publisher, New Awareness Network, at sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
Please support them. They are the keepers of this incredible archive. Okay, let's unpack this, the moment point.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of us, if you asked us what is now, we'd say it's this second, and then it's gone. And now it's the next second.
Fleeting.
Yeah, it's fleeting, it's linear, it's like a train track we can't get off of.
That is exactly how Seth describes the ego's perception. And we have to be really clear here. When Seth talks about the ego, he isn't talking about being arrogant or, conceited.
Right, it's a technical term.
It's the surface level self. It's the part of you that navigates physical traffic, pays your taxes, and makes sure you don't walk into walls.
The day-to-day manager.
Exactly. And he uses this really vivid analogy. He says the ego sees the present moment like a flat, cardboard-like object.
A cardboard cutout of reality. That's a very static, almost cheap image for something as fluid as time.
It is, and that's his point. Imagine you're standing still, and a series of lights are approaching you from one side.
Okay.
They flash in front of your face, that's the present, and then they disappear off to the other side into the past.
Right.
To the ego, once that light passes your peripheral vision, it is gone. The cardboard is flipped over. The ego thinks, that's it. That moment is finished. It is dead. It is inaccessible.
It's like a flip book. Once you turn the page, the previous image is gone forever. You can't live in it anymore.
Precisely. But Seth argues that this is a persistent illusion caused by our biological equipment.
An illusion.
He says the moment point is actually open. It's not flat. It isn't the wall we pass. It is a portal. He says it represents an opening into many other dimensions.
So now isn't a barrier. It's a door we can walk into.
That is a beautiful way to put it, yes. And this is where he contrasts the ego with the whole self.
Okay.
The ego is equipped to deal with physical reality, handling objects, driving cars, having these conversations. To do that effectively, it needs linear time. It needs the cardboard to be flat, or it would just get overwhelmed by all the other data.
It's a focusing mechanism.
It's a focusing mechanism. But the other portions of the self, the deeper identity, they are not focused so intensely on physical reality.
Seth calls them freewheeling, right? I love that word.
Yes, freewheeling. It's such a great term. It implies a lack of friction, a lack of a gravity. These inner selves can move out of the physical dimension. They can travel through that open door of the moment point.
And this is where he has a bone to pick with J.W. Dunne, the guy Robert was reading. Yeah. I guess Dunne had this idea that we're kind of stuck in our timeline.
A.W. Dunne proposed this theory of serial time. It's complicated, but essentially he posited that you have different observers watching different timelines.
Okay.
But Dunne still believed that these selves were, to a large degree, prisoners of those specific dimensions. They were stuck on their tracks.
So you can't cross over.
Right. And Seth rejects that restriction entirely. He says the identity may and will move out of its dimension into another. We aren't prisoners. We are travelers who have simply forgotten how to pack our bags.
Wow. That is a liberating thought. But it's also a bit mind-bending. If the moment point isn't cardboard, if it's not a flat surface, what is it? I mean, visually or physically, how does Seth describe the architecture of now?
He uses two key words here that we really need to focus on: spiral and intensities.
Intensities. That sounds like we're talking about electricity or voltage or something.
We are. And that is such a crucial distinction in the Seth material. Seth often defines the soul or consciousness in terms that are, effectively analogous to energy or electricity.
Interesting.
He says these moment points are electrical realities. So traveling through them isn't about walking a distance. It's not about taking a rocket ship to the future. It's about a transformation of energy.
So now is basically an electrical spiral staircase.
In a way, yes. He says you journey through intensities. These moment points are like spirals. When you change the intensity of your focus, when you alter the frequency of your consciousness, you move up or down that spiral.
And that's how you access.
And that movement brings you into contact with what the ego would call the past or the future.
It sounds almost technical, like tuning a radio.
It is.
If you stay on 98.5 FM, you hear the present. If you tune to 99.1, you hear the future. But the radio waves are all occupying the same space.
That's a very, very apt analogy. And he connects this ability to tune the radio directly to dreaming. This isn't just something you do when you're dead or in some deep meditative state. This is happening every night when we sleep.
Right, because when we sleep, the ego shuts up. Finally.
Exactly. When the ego sleeps, it relaxes its death grip on the idea of linear time. It stops forcing the cardboard perspective because it doesn't need to, navigate traffic or cook dinner.
So it lets go of the control.
Oh, lets it go. And that relaxation allows the other portions of the self to slip through the moment point.
Which brings us to the concept of precognition. I found this part so compelling. Seth lays out this logical argument, Usually people treat precognition like it's magic, but Seth treats it like a geometric proof.
It is a deductive proof, he argues. Let's look at self-A. That's the physical you.
Mm-hmm.
If self-A is strictly limited to the physical time track, then in order to see the future, self-A would have to physically leave the present.
Right.
If it leaves the present, it ceases to exist. It would die.
You can't be in two times at once if you are a purely physical object.
Exactly. But since we do have precognitive dreams, since we do have moments where we sense the future, and science has documented this repeatedly,
then we can't be purely physical objects stuck in time.
we must exist outside of that linear track simultaneously.
It's the I think, therefore I am of time travel. I dream the future, therefore I am multidimensional.
Exactly. He says, if self-A were limited to the perceptions of the ego, then, my dear friends, precognition in dreams would be impossible. He's basically telling Robert and Jane, the simple fact that you can do this proves you are more than you think you are. You are not the cardboard cutout.
Okay, so that's the theory. It's beautiful, it's logical, but it's abstract.
Very.
The moment point is an open door, a spiral of intensity, and when we sleep, we wander through it. But Seth isn't just a philosopher.
No, he isn't.
He's a showman, and he decides to prove it.
And this is where the session shifts gears completely. We move from high-level theoretical physics to a quiet living room in Elmira, New York.
We move to the envelope test. Let's set this up for the listeners. This was a protocol they used to test Jane's clairvoyance, right?
Yes. It was designed to rule out telepathy between Jane and Robert.
Hmm?
A third party would bring a sealed envelope containing an object or a document.
Okay.
Jane, in a trance, as Seth, would hold it to her forehead and describe what was inside and, the history associated with it.
And crucially, Jane does not see the contents. She has no idea what is in there. In this session 219, there are actually two tests.
That's right.
The first one is for a Dr. In-stream, which we assume is like a mail-in or a remote request. I want to briefly touch on it because the imagery sets a very specific mood.
Yeah, let's hit the highlights of Dr. In-stream. So Seth holds the envelope and describes small boxes, as in a post office. He sees someone marking grades. He sees a checkerboard, a man in a robe and slippers, a pipe.
It's very cozy, but also very specific. He isn't saying, I feel happiness. He's seeing a checkerboard. He's remote viewing a life.
He is. And he mentions boxes here. I want everyone to just put a pin in that word, boxes.
Okay, boxes. Got it.
The boxes are going to come back later. But the real showstopper of session 219 is the second test, the one brought by their witness, Lorraine Schaefer.
Lorraine is a friend of theirs. She's sitting there in the room with them.
Right.
And she has brought a sealed envelope. She handed it to Robert while Jane was out of the room, so Jane has zero knowledge of this.
And Lorraine herself, get this, she picked this object months prior, almost at random, and had actually forgotten what she put in there until the session started.
So no one in the room consciously knows what's in the envelope.
Exactly. So Jane, as Seth, takes this envelope, she holds it to her forehead, and what happens...
The suspense is killing me.
The first thing Seth says is, a connection with a turbulent event or unpleasantness.
Okay, playing devil's advocate here, that's a little vague. Unpleasantness could be a parking ticket or a stubbed toe.
True, but then he gets specific. He says the initial M, then a location not in this city, then event of 1965. And then he describes the object itself, of a family record, as a page from a book.
A page from a book.
And finally, 4 numbers, I believe, in a row.
Wow. Okay, let's reveal the object. What was inside Lorraine's envelope?
It was a visitor's pass to Arnott Ogden Hospital.
Hospital?
Lorraine had picked it out of a wastebasket at work. She was a secretary there months and months ago.
A hospital pass. Okay, suddenly, turbulent event. Makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Nobody goes to the hospital for a fun vacation. It is almost always a site of trauma or worry or unpleasantness.
Exactly. The unpleasantness matches the energy of a hospital stay perfectly. But let's look at the hits, the specific data points.
Let's break it down.
Okay, so we have a few bullet points of accuracy here. First, Seth saw the initial M.
Right.
The patient's name on the pass was Margaret M. Bunn.
Margaret M. Bunn. That's a direct hit.
That's a hit. Second, Seth said a location not in this city. The patient, Margaret Bunn, lived in Mansfield, Pennsylvania.
Which is not Elmira, New York.
It's about 70 miles away from Elmira, New York.
That's another clear hit. Mansfield is definitely not in this city.
Then Seth said event of 1965. The pass was dated June 7th, 1965.
Hit. Number 3.
And then the physical description. This is the part that gets me. Seth described it as a family record, as a page from a book. Now, this is fascinating to me visually. The pass itself is torn from a spiral-bound book of passes. So visually and functionally, it is a page from a book.
Oh, wow.
It's not just a loose slip of paper. It has that perforated edge.
So he's seeing the object's origin, not just the object itself. That's really specific.
And finally, 4 numbers in a row. The pass has a number code on it, and the date itself, 6765, contains numbers. It's a direct visual hit.
So we have the emotional resonance, which is turbulence. We have the initial the location, not here, the year, 1965, the physical nature of the object, a page from a book, and the numbers.
Yep.
That is statistically unlikely to be a cold guess.
Highly unlikely. You have to consider the combination. I mean, sure, you guess a year, you could guess an initial, but to guess the year and the initial and the specific geographic relationship, not in this city, and the physical format, page from a book, all at the same time, the odds are just astronomical.
But here's where it gets chilling. For me, this is the part. This is the detail in the notes. Ruburt Butts adds this in the annotations. That adds a whole new layer to this deep dive. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night.
I love the annotations.
Yeah.
Ruburt Butts was such a meticulous record keeper. What did he find?
So the patient was from Mansfield, PA.
Right.
Lorraine, who brought the envelope, didn't know the patient. She just grabbed a pass from the trash at her job. It was refuse.
Just a random piece of paper.
But Ruburt Butts, the man sitting there writing down Seth's words, was born in Mansfield, PA.
Whoa. Get out of here.
And his father was born in a town just beyond that. Lorraine didn't know this about Ruburt.
So, wait, let me trace this. Lorraine picks a completely random piece of trash. It happens to belong to a woman who lives in the specific town where Ruburt was born.
Yes.
And then she brings it to Ruburt's house for a psychic reading.
Exactly. It suggests a web of connection. It implies that objects aren't just lifeless things. They have a gravity. They are drawn to people who have a connection to them. It totally challenges the idea of randomness. Was it random that Lorraine picks that specific pass? Or was there a subconscious pull because she was going to see Ruburt later?
That gives me goosebumps. It really does. It's like the moment point theory in action. The connections are all there, underneath the cardboard reality. We just don't see them until we peel it back.
It's a network.
It suggests that consciousness is operating on a network we just can't see with our eyes.
Precisely. And speaking of peeling back layers, we have to talk about the box mystery.
Yes.
Because there was a glitch in the Matrix during this session, and Seth explains it in a way that is just a masterclass on how psychic ability actually works. It's so important.
If you want to understand the mechanism, you have to look at the errors.
Yes. The box glitch. So, to recap, in the first test for Dr. Instream, Seth saw boxes and a post office vibe.
Right.
Then the second test for Lorraine, the hospital pass, he saw boxes again. He said, "We have here also the impression of a box once more."
It usually, repeating an image like that implies the medium is stuck, right? Like a song stuck in your head. You hear box once, you just keep saying box.
That is exactly what happened. And Seth admits it. He doesn't try to hide it or, pretend it was right. He explains that 2 things caused this distortion.
Okay, what were they?
First, there was retention of image. The image of the boxes from the first test literally hung around in Jane's subconscious. It didn't clear out.
Okay, so it's like a ghost image on an old plasma TV screen.
Right.
The previous channel is still kind of burned in.
Exactly. But the second cause is even more interesting. It was an association.
An association? Jane's subconscious perceived the hospital pass. To her mind, a small rectangular card looks like a file card.
Yeah.
And where are file cards kept?
In boxes or file cabinets, which are, big boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So her brain did this rapid-fire translation, perception of card, idea of file, image of box.
Oh.
And because the box image was already lingering from the previous test, it just locked in. It was a cognitive shortcut.
That is fascinating. So Seth, or the source of the information, is sending the raw data of pass or card. But Jane's brain is the translator, and sometimes the translator adds their own footnotes or gets the synonym wrong.
Seth calls it a valid perception, but says it was not carried far enough by Jane to clear the distortion. This is so important for you, the listener, to understand.
Yeah.
Psychic information isn't a 4K video stream beaming directly into the brain. It is an act of translation. It filters through the medium's vocabulary, their memories, their personal associations.
It makes the whole thing feel more authentic to me. If it were perfect every single time, I'd be suspicious.
Too.
If she was 100% accurate, I'd think it was a trick. But seeing the mechanics of the error, understanding why she got it wrong, that actually validates the process for me. It shows the struggle of bringing data from one dimension to another.
It does. It shows that there is a signal and there is noise. And part of the training, which Seth references, is learning to distinguish the two.
Right.
He says, when Ruburt's abilities are fully developed, then he will be able to add certain specifics that have direct personal application. He's literally training her to be a better receiver.
To wipe the screen clean between channels.
Exactly. I love that.
It's not magic. It's a skill. It's tuning a radio. It just takes practice to stop the static.
It is physics, just physics of a different intensity.
Speaking of tuning in, we have to talk about how the session ends. Because Ruburt, bless his heart, tries to squeeze in one last personal question.
He does.
It's late, they're tired, but he can't help himself.
It's after 11:00 p.m. They've done the heavy philosophy on time. They've done the exhausting envelope tests. And Ruburt goes, what about the pair of eyes I saw so clearly last month?
He wants an interpretation of his own vision. He wants his own reading.
And Seth's reaction is just... it's priceless. He says, I did not know that you would tempt me with such a question at the end of a session. You have no one but yourself to blame if the session continues longer.
That is such a teacher vibe. Like, you want to keep the class late, fine, but you're the one who's going to be tired in the morning.
He basically validates it. He says, you were dealing, indeed, with a legitimate perception, but he just refuses to go into the full explanation right then.
He's cutting him off.
He essentially says, nice try, Ruburt, but go to bed.
And then he signs off with a little bit of a brag.
He does.
He says, you must admit that I gave you your money's worth this evening.
I love that. I gave you your money's worth. A disembodied entity concerned with value proposition.
It's incredible.
It just highlights the humor that runs through these sessions. It's not all doom and gloom and heavy chanting. It's witty. It's relational.
It really is. So let's zoom out. What does this all mean? We started with this idea that the present moment is a cardboard cutout, a flat, limiting view of reality.
Right.
We ended with a hospital pass that proves we can see through that cardboard.
We have the theory. The moment point is an open door. It's a spiral. And we have the application. Because that door is open, consciousness can travel through it.
Right.
Seth could see the contents of that envelope because he isn't limited by the cardboard view of time and space. He demonstrated the theory in real time.
It connects the dots perfectly.
Yeah.
The theory isn't just some abstract musing, it's the mechanics of how the magic trick works.
Exactly.
The envelope test isn't a miracle, it's just what happens when you step through the open door.
Exactly. You understand the moment point. You understand how remote viewing is possible. You understand how precognition is possible. It all stems from the fact that we are not trapped in linear time. We're just focused there.
And that focus can be shifted. That's the big takeaway for me. We aren't prisoners, as Dunne thought. We are travelers. We just need to remember how to walk.
We are travelers.
So I want to leave you with this thought. Seth says the ego sees the present moment as a flat piece of cardboard. It flashes by and it's gone. But if you look closely at your own life, those moments of déjà vu or a dream that comes true, or just that feeling of knowing who is calling before you pick up the phone, can you see the edges of the cardboard peeling back? Can you see the light coming through the cracks? What's waiting for you in the spiral underneath?
That is the question to ask.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into session 219. Again, this deep dive is distributed free of charge. It's for educational purposes. We are just scratching the surface here.
We really are. We covered maybe 5% of what is in that book. To get the full picture, you need to read the books.
Credit to the Seth Material and New Awareness Network. Please go deeper. Visit sethcenter.com/the-early-sessions. Buy the books. Support the work.
It's a library that will change how you view reality. It really will.
Until next time, keep peeling back the cardboard.
Good night.